Welcome to our group container security meeting. Per usual, Alexander, you've got some demo items for us. And Alexander, you're on
You
mute.
muted.
Okay, yes, of course. So I've got two things for us. Actually, there should be a third thing on here that I will get to later. But first of all, the assigning widget for the alert drawer is finally added, and so that finishes the follow-up for the alerts page. You can see in the screenshot on the right side, now you can do everything. You can create an issue, you can assign it, you can change the status, and you can see the details. It's a one-stop shop. And also, Paul is here, but Paul and I have been working on the scan execution epic, and both of us have gone through our redesigns of both the network policy drawer, I guess now it's just regular policy drawer, and the policy editor page. So you can see the screenshot there, and I don't have a screenshot of Paul's wonderful redesign, but it's beautiful. You'll have to trust me. And then moving on, Annabelle's not here, but there's a design issue that we should walk through and look at the latest designs.
Yeah, let's do that at the end, just to give her time to join in. If that
sounds good.
So yeah, we'll skip down to 4A. Thanks for those, Alexander. It's great to see just the constant iterative progress here. So yeah, now that Zamir's starting on security approvals, just to clarify for the group, he's now on security approvals 100% full time. So he can still, you can still talk to him, please do, ask him questions. You can still, he can still help out in some areas. But as far as actually assigning him issues, we're only assigning him issues related to security approvals because the board of directors approved one headcount specifically for that area. So they want to make sure that we have one person focused on that just to make sure it gets at least that minimum level of attention. And we can always add more people to security approvals, like if we want to get more done faster, but we're going to always have at least one person full-time on that. So I just wanted to share with you what we have planned in that area, as well as what we have here today. I think there's a lot of overlap with some of the other work that's being done, especially in the policy editor. So it would be great just for everyone to be aware of that so that, when changes come along and Zamir starts making changes, you're not surprised. So that being said, let me share my screen. And I'm going to start off by showing you the functionality that's there today. Right now, to set up merge request approvals, you actually go to settings in your project, over to the general area, and then there's this section in here called merge request approvals. So you click that, it actually has all kinds of approvals in here, not just security approvals. But this is where you set up, all of the requirements. So if you want to require new approvals when new commits are added to MR, prevent MR approvals by the author, there's a bunch of settings down here you can do. But then we also have license check and vulnerability check. License check looks for specific licenses that you want to deny. And then vulnerability check looks for any, let's see, high or critical vulnerability in the MR. And if any high or critical vulnerabilities are present, it'll trigger the required approvals that you have specified here. So you can pick, sorry, I can't talk today. I don't know why. You can pick which branch you want to have these rules applied to, and you can pick which groups are allowed to do the approval, as well as the number of people that have to sign off on it before it can be merged into the main branch. The way this ends up showing up is on the merge request, where you see I can approve this. It says it requires 3 more approvals from license check and vulnerability check. The merge button is disabled right now because we're actually introducing some new licenses that are not allowed. And then you can see we've got 1 critical and 4 high. So that met the criteria for the vulnerability check there as well. So you actually can block and prevent things from being merged in until they have approval from the security team. So this is a pretty big feature. This is a big part of our selling story. But right now, what you see here has some very heavy limitations. First of all, it's only available on the project level. So that means that users have to set it up for each and every project that they're wanting to apply this to. Some of our customers have tens of thousands of projects, and you can just imagine the effort to go through and synchronize all of this is a lot, especially when things change, then you've got to go update it 10,000 times. So it's not really sustainable to do this at the project level. It also lacks some granularity. So again, the rule triggers if you have one critical or one high minimum, there's no way to customize that or to pick what thresholds you want or which scanners you want or anything like that. So ultimately, the experience here in the MR widget is okay. We're probably not going to change this anytime soon, but we do want to change the setup experience for this and move it into Surprise, our security policy editor. So this will come in the form of a scan result policy. So it'll be a new policy type. And we're still working through all of the details here, but the idea is to give the user a lot more flexibility. So they can say, maybe they only care if SAST finds a critical vulnerability and they don't care about the other scanners. Or maybe, you can chain multiple rules here together. So maybe, if DAST finds one critical or if, DAST finds one high. So maybe, you're more interested in your DAST results. And then ultimately we would want, here, let me refresh this real quick, actually. Ultimately, we would want to let you also specify, the branch. You can do that today as well, but also whether vulnerabilities are newly detected or pre-existing and dismissed or pre-existing and not dismissed. So again, a lot more flexibility here. And then as an action, you would come down and require approval from one or more individuals in a certain group. So again, some of the details here are still being worked out. We'll probably want a read-only view of this back in this area just for consistency so that someone can come here and easily see all of the approvals that are in place. But we want to move the editing and setup for this into the policy editor. And also when we bring those policies to the group and workspace level, we'll bring these security approvals to that level as well so that users can set it up once and have it apply for their entire organization. Are there any questions on any of that?
Is the motivation, you may have said this, I may have missed it, is the motivation for putting it in our policy editor page is that it's just a lot more complicated than the other approvals? Like the other approvals are like, oh, we need one vulnerability check or one license check, but this is like, for this type of scan, make sure none of these vulnerabilities or like all these other things.
Yeah, it is more complicated. Moving it over also brings some other benefits too, because we have full audit logging. Just that's a benefit of Git, right? You get the whole version history of any changes there, and you can actually have approvals on your security project. So you can now restrict it so that not anyone can make changes to the approval rules without getting approval from someone else. A little bit of inception there in a way, but because these do deal with security, we want to provide the full, proper range of security checks that should be in place whenever someone's changing a security policy. So that way, again, you can have it go through an approval process to even change the approval rules, or you have that full audit logging. There are just a lot of benefits to doing that. There might be a use case to move the other approvals into some sort of editor like this. But whereas our policies are focused on security policies specifically, I don't think it would make sense to put them in the same place in the UI because we're really dealing with security policies there. So I could see like in the long term, maybe they use our policy editor, but they call it like merge request policies or something like that. But I don't really think the other merge request approvals would go into the security policy space.
Got it. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, great question. Any other questions or comments on this one?
I have a comment that I wrote on the agenda. I'm just mentioning that there's going probably be overlap between a couple of the issues that I'm going to work on with things that Alexander and maybe Paul is going to work on. So I'm just saying that I'm going to make sure that I'm going to tag the task as appropriated. And if any of you would like, I can ping you for a couple of critical front end tasks just to make sure that you are like up to date on the changes. I don't want to just like having some misalignment with whatever you guys are working with.
Yeah, that's a great call out. Also, I mean, Zamir is just starting like this week into this area, so we're still figuring out our implementation plan, but I anticipate that there will be a lot of back end work that needs to be done to make all of this possible. And so I'm hoping that, you know, because Alexander and Paul, you're kind of in the middle of all of this policy editor code right now. I'm hoping that, you know, Zamir can do a lot of the back end work during 14.0 and 14.1, you know, and then we can come back and do some of the front end work. So that way we're just minimizing the amount of conflict there with everyone touching the same code at the same time.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks for letting me share that. Again, I thought it would be relevant since since that code's being worked on, and as you work on that front end code, you know, just keep in mind that that's where we're headed. So anything we can do architecturally to design it in an extensible way that gets things ready for Zamir to come in and do that work will only help make things easier in the long run. So that being said, we still don't have Annabelle on yet, but we can come back to her item.
So it looks like there's one more comment on this. Zamir, do you want to voice it?
Yeah, I was just wondering, out of curiosity, if did we check with the team that's currently working on the approvals, if they are interested in having these other approvals into our dialogue as well in the future?
So the other team so right now, I think it's the compliance team is working on getting merge request approvals at the group level, like just the generic ones, but they're not touching the vulnerability check and license check. So we've kind of separated ourselves that way. I do not think that, again, I do not think that they would want to put that in our security policy editor just because it's not a security policy. As far as I can tell, they're just working on the back end plumbing of even making it possible to do it at the group level. So would they want to use our UI policy editor at some point? Maybe. We haven't really had those conversations, but I think they're just they're pretty short staffed right now, so they don't have a lot of development time even to work on moving it to the group level. So as far as all my conversations have been, that's really far out on their roadmap. They might be interested in it, but I don't think they're going to have time to do it anytime soon.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks for catching that comment. Alexander, do you want to walk through the designs or do you want me to?
I can do it. Sounds fun. Let me open it up here and share my screen. As you can see, I was puzzling earlier. So this design, vulnerability scans against running container images. This is the design issue. So let's see what we have here. Right, okay, I do remember this epic. So basically, when you scan a running container, all the vulnerabilities that you find will drop into the vulnerability report. And we've got, let's see if we can go to another issue. Right, so we have created this environment tab, which is going to sort of house all of those vulnerabilities. And you can filter by them. It tells you what environment they're in, so production or staging and whatnot. And Sam, maybe I should have let you do this. Actually, Sam, do you want to just take over? You know these designs better than I do.
Right, Annabelle's joining in right now, so we'll let her take over as soon as she
Oh,
finishes.
perfect. I was not doing a great job.
That's okay. Sorry. Yep, I had a meeting conflict. And where are we right now? We're just going over these designs.
We went through all the other agenda items, and we just started on your item. So you have the rest of the time, and we're just starting.
Okay. Let me share
But
my screen.
you did miss me just looking at the designs and being like, oh, what's new here? Oh yeah, there's a tab here now. Oh, what? Oh, we're doing this thing now. This is cool.
Why is my, can you all see? Oh, never mind. It's sharing now. Okay. This is not it. This is it. So the most recent design, like you just mentioned, is the tab. And I just wanted to run this by everyone. And really all feedback is great because sorry, my kids are crying. Okay. So we've got the environment and project tabs up here. The word environment is still up for debate, or if anyone has a better name for this tab where you're running scans in an environment or an external source like a container or potentially a running website like for an on-demand DAS scan. You click that and then you'll see the container scanning as the first iteration and then probably eventually DAST as well for on-demand only.
Annabelle, everything
Yeah.
under the tab is specific to the tab itself. So the pipeline, the counters, the filters, that's all under that should
Yes.
change as you switch the tabs and are specific to what's in the result there, especially the
Yes.
export, I guess is what I wanted to clarify.
Yes, this is all tab specific. The data, I just didn't update it. So you're going to see the same stuff.
Sure. But the export also would just export what's under that tab, not the full report. Okay.
Yeah, definitely unless we hear something from a customer who wants everything, then we can update it later. So you'll see that these have kind of changed a little bit. We've got scanner and that would show either container scanning or DAST or whatever others we add. For filtering by attributes that aren't common to all scanners, like image, URL, and environment, I was thinking, I think I took this from one of Andy's designs. You could do a filter bar and then add in whichever ones we need to filter by. And then if you add those in, it'll filter by those. And if you select something like image and DAS doesn't have an image, so it'll automatically filter out those ones that don't have the same attribute. The reason why I think that keeping these and adding this instead of just going full on with the filter bar is because right now I think, and I would have to ask Andy and Matt the reasoning behind this in the first place, but I do think it's nice to see all of these right away, but also you can do that or operator, like you'll see all of these instead of, so our filter bar only works with the and operator right now, right? So if you're searching for issues, you'll only see medium and unknown, and that doesn't exist. I think that's why they did it this way. I'm not sure, but anyway, I think I saw something in one of Andy's designs where he used both. It could work, or it could be a disaster. I don't know.
Yeah, so personally, I haven't had a chance to comment on this yet on the issue, but I really like this approach because it keeps a lot of consistency between the two tabs. The only thing that's different is that more filters button, but at least visually it keeps things fairly consistent. And that way, hopefully in the future, we can kind of iterate the project and environment filters together. I don't want them to deviate too far apart, but at the same time, we do want to let customers filter by things like image. So it's kind of a challenge because we have some extra filtering that we want to get in place, but we also have this desire for consistency. And at least my opinion, for what it's worth, is that this design does a really good job of balancing both of those intended outcomes.
The filters are challenging. We've had a lot of struggles over the last several milestones with existing filters that are on the project tab, and I would love to see us move. I mean, I'd love to see us move entirely to search, but the reasons that you just said, Annabelle, make a lot of sense. I'd be concerned about the level of effort this would take in an early iteration to release this, and wonder if there's a iterative approach that could use filters if we found that this was going to be a big effort that could be an addition as we go.
If you don't mind, maybe I can take that one for just a minute. So we actually are doing this in an iterative way. And what Annabelle's showing you is really more like the second or third iteration. The first iteration, we're not even introducing a new tab at all. We're just putting things into that project tab. Like, well, there's not even a tab at the moment. We're just putting things into the default list, and we're changing the name of the scanner. Instead of container scanning, it'll say live container scanning. So that'll actually be the very first iteration. It will involve no front end work at all, because we're just putting things into the existing UI. So, we can still get this out to customers and make it available for them. I think where Annabelle's working is more around like the end state design. And then, if we need more iterative steps in between, we can obviously figure out what those are.
For just spitballing here, but some iterative in between steps could be if we want to just add more scanners right at the top or more drop downs, we could. It won't look very good. Or we could just add more drop down items here instead of the filter bar. So you click that, you just get another set of drop downs, especially since we're only doing container scanning at first. I don't know when DAS will be added to this list. We have at least a little more flexibility on what we can add since we only have one scanner type.
Just FYI, I'm adding y'all's comments to the live doc. I would like to chime in that it does seem the most challenging thing for us with these designs is trying to figure out how to do the filters. In one of the comments, Sam mentioned that customers really want to have the ability to filter by image. My question for Sam is, do you think that should be a requirement for the MVC?
So, I mean, it's not going to be part of the MVC, since the MVC is just putting things into the existing UI, and we don't have an image filter today. So I guess the answer is no, but I think we need to get that image filter rather quickly. We already know from our own dog fooding that our security team is having a hard time using container scanning because they don't have that image filter. And I expect that to be the same problem in production. I really can't see any reason why it would be different. So we really actually need an image filter in both tabs, just for it to be realistically usable by a security team. So for the MVC, no, we don't have to have it, but we need a short follow-on path to get there.
Maybe an image filter could be just a separate project that happens in Threat Insights while like soonish instead of when this project starts.
It could be. I mean, I'm not their product manager, so I don't control their prioritization, right? And it's actually more complicated than that, because just like we need the image filter, the other scanners need other custom filters. Like for dependency scanning, you're wanting to filter by a specific package and look at the vulnerabilities applicable for that package. Or for DAST, you may want to filter by a specific URL. So actually almost every scanner has their own unique filter that is strongly needed. And so it's a little bit more complex than just adding another drop down there for image. So that's why they've been, why they haven't solved that problem yet. I know they're working on designs and trying to figure out the right answer though. So they will eventually get there, but you know, again, either we can contribute to them and speed that up for them as well, or we can wait for them to get to it. But they are working on it, so it's on their radar. They know of the problem. It's just the solution is not super clear.
Got
Yeah,
it. Thank you for that context.
And Andy's the designer for not threat monitoring, for what is it? Vulnerability
Insights.
Management, Threat Insights. And he's on paternity leave right now, but he's done a lot of work that I don't have open with these advanced filtering options and advanced export options. So you can filter out certain things on your export and things like that. So I know it's definitely on his radar, but like Sam said, I don't think he'll be getting to it, at least for a few more months.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's everything on the agenda, right?
Yeah, thanks for walking through those designs, Annabelle. And thanks everyone for the great attendance and participation today. Any other questions or comments before we wrap it up? All right, have a great week, everyone.
Bye, friends.